Welcome to the Knockout Hour, Episode 4. I'm here with my co-host, Uncle Coco, and then we got producer Josh. Say what's up, Josh.
What's up?
It's time!
What's up, everybody? So today we're going to be doing a quick recap of all the fights from UFC 273. So Derek, you want to go ahead and start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting off with the first fight on the early prelims, got Julio Arce and Daniel Santos. Actually was a pretty good matchup here. I think Julio Arce actually looked really sharp with his counters. Daniel Santos, his first UFC fight. But yeah, Julio Arce actually looked really good, I thought.
Yeah, it's definitely a very tough opponent for Santos coming in, getting someone who was 6-1 in the UFC already. But yeah, his boxing looked really crisp, especially towards the later parts of the first round, going into the second and third. He started off a little slow, but Santos was pushing the pace really well. So, but yeah, that was definitely a really good fight. Arce looked really good. If he gets the weight under control, he did miss weight by 2.5 pounds, I think, or maybe a half a pound. But if he gets the weight under control, consistently make weight at 135, he's going to be a stud down there, I believe.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think he came in at 136.5, so
yeah,
so 10.5 over. And then so we go up to the next fight, Pierre Rodriguez and Kay Hansen. I know you're a big fan of Kay Hansen. Your girl looked a little slow in there, though.
Yeah, she definitely did after the first round. She looked good in the first round, got her down, trying to submit her. Then after that, it was just all Pierre Rodriguez. I thought she kind of fought boring, honestly. Rodriguez just kind of held her down and wasn't really trying to do much to win. But, I mean, I guess that's MMA sometimes. Joe Rogan said it best last night. If you don't want somebody to just hold you down, go to boxing.
Basically, yeah. It seems like that's getting more and more popular nowadays among fighters, and not exactly sure why, but I guess if it wins you a fight, it wins you a fight. So.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll move up to the next fight on the early prelims, which was Alexei Oleinik and Jared Vanderaa. Honestly, Oleinik did not look good. Didn't look good off the start. He was kind of getting pieced up by Vanderaa, and then Vanderaa even had his back at one point and took him down. Had his back, and then Oleinik came back, got the submission. I mean, like he always does. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, a little bit of slow start, like you said, but yeah, Oleinik's not really someone you want to be on the ground with, especially in that heavyweight division. He's definitely a veteran of the game and definitely knows what he's doing down there on the mat. So, neck crank for the win and looked pretty good.
Yep, that was his milestone 60th win in MMA, which is a pretty big milestone, so that's pretty wild. Especially because he wins almost the same way every single time, so that is pretty crazy. But we'll go ahead and move up to one of my favorite fights of the night. It was a pretty fast-paced fight the whole time while it lasted, and that was Mickey Gall versus Mike Malott.
Yeah, really enjoyed this fight, actually. We talked about it a little bit. You know, I a little bit higher on Mickey Gall, and he did not look very good. I mean, I definitely took your advice on that one, but definitely took Mike Malott in my parlay, so that definitely helped. But, Malott out there making Mickey Gall look mid, honestly. Made him look like he shouldn't. I don't know. I thought he made him look really bad. He pieced him up, gave him that combo, and knocked him out. So.
Yeah, Mickey Gall didn't look too terrible on the feet. I mean, he was just under 50%. So I mean, that's an improvement for him alone. He did get one takedown, but Malott got right back up. I mean, that's Mickey Gall's best thing. If he's not on the ground, he's probably not going to win the fight, especially with someone with the striking like Mike Malott. I mean, Malott was hitting him with some bombs early. He was way over 50%. I mean, he was 29 of 45, 28 significant strikes, 21 of those to the head. So he looked really good. That was his UFC debut. And, man, I'm excited for that guy in the division. He got on there. Probably gained some fans on the mic saying fuck cancer and all this and that. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And then I seen on Twitter, somebody said Mike Malott was out there piecing up Mickey Gall like he was a CM Punk super fan. So
yeah,
thought that was a good one too.
Yeah, that was good. I'm not really sure where Mickey Gall goes from this. I mean, that's I think 2 straight losses. So, I mean, he might be getting cut from the UFC. 7-5 in the UFC. I mean, he's 2 of his biggest wins are over CM Punk and Mike Jackson, who are nowhere near UFC caliber. So, I mean, who knows where he goes from here? He might get cut. Maybe not. I mean, he's still a pretty big name. Most people know Mickey Gall because he has fought. He did fight CM Punk and got the big name recognition. So who knows? But like I said, he did have some improvements on the feet. It looked like for a little bit, but I mean, you can't box him like Malott like that. I mean, the dude has, I think all of his 8 wins are in the first round. So I mean, he's got heavy hands, got good jiu-jitsu. So I mean, not someone to mess around with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Going on to the next fight, we got Raquel Pennington and Aspen Ladd. What'd you think about this fight?
I actually thought this fight was a pretty fun fight. They were boxing, going hard, and I think the judges. This is one of the few fights I think the judges got 100% correct. I also had it 29-28 for Raquel Pennington. So yeah, it was a banger though. I mean, they were going at it on the feet, and I know we were all sitting here watching it, going crazy. I mean, it's one of the best fights on the prelims. Honestly, all the fights on these prelims were pretty good. A lot of good boxing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I definitely agree there. Yeah, I had a fun time with this one too. I thought they were, slugging it out, had some pretty good moments, and yeah, I had pretty fun with the prelims, honestly. Going up to another fight on the prelim, you got Anthony Hernandez and Josh Fremd. I thought Hernandez looked really good, honestly. Yeah, Fremd is just, he's not someone you just sleep on. He looked pretty good, and the developmental's coming up. So I mean, Hernandez just kind of made light work, honestly.
Yeah, Fremd took the fight on short notice, though. I mean, he did hit Hernandez with some absolute bombs, but Hernandez just looked slick on the ground. I don't quite agree with the judges, though. 2 of them gave Hernandez a 30-27. I thought Fremd won the second round pretty easily, honestly. He started off a little slow, but then he ended up taking Hernandez down, kind of beating him up a little bit. So I thought Fremd got at least one of those rounds, but it was a good fight. I mean, it was definitely a learning experience from Fremd, and I think they said that was the first time Hernandez had fought in like 18 months, and he looked pretty freaking good for not fighting for 18 months.
Yeah, no, I thought he looked really good too. Definitely in shape.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll move on to probably the fight on the prelims that everyone was looking to the most, that being Ian Garry, who's a big upcoming star, and then Darian Weeks, who was a pretty good wrestler, honestly. He showed some good wrestling early, or some good attempts. And honestly, he didn't look bad against them. I mean, I know you were contemplating that. I mean, he arguably could have maybe even won 2 of the rounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had 2 minutes and 52 seconds of control time. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I thought Weeks at times he looked pretty good, and like you said, I honestly thought he could have. Especially that round 1, I think it could have honestly gone either way. I don't know if they ended up giving Weeks the first round. I haven't seen the judges' scorecards just yet on all the fights, but I mean, honestly, I'd probably give him round 1, maybe round 2. But I thought Garry had the longevity though. He definitely took round 3. Definitely looked really good in round 3.
Yeah, I personally had Garry winning 1 and 3. I thought 2 and 3. I thought 1 could have gone either way, but even in that round though, I mean, Garry was hitting Weeks with the bigger shots. I felt like I don't quite remember where the 252 control time came. Maybe that was just up against the cage. I don't think he really held Garry down at any points. I don't remember that, but yeah, I thought Ian Garry's striking looked crisp. He was fast. He's getting out of the way of some big shots that Weeks was throwing. I mean, this dude really might be the future. So, yeah, and he's good on the mic, pretty decently looking. So I think he's going to be a pretty big star coming up.
Yeah, I agree for sure. Moving on to Mark Madsen and Vince Pichel. I didn't mind this one either. I thought Mark Madsen did what he needed to do to win. Vince Pichel definitely was not happy with the decision, calling Madsen a pussy after the fight, but it is what it is. I didn't really like Pichel going into it. I thought he was kind of an asshole, but
yeah, I was in that same boat. I think Madsen did just enough to win in the last round, but I mean, 2 of the judges had him winning all 3 of them. So I mean, but even on the feet, Madsen was hitting him with some absolute bombs, man. There was a few times that he was just piecing him up, it looked like. And, I mean, I didn't see too many huge ones from Pichel. He hit Madsen with a few nice shots, but I had it Madsen too. I had him winning 29. I had Madsen up 29-28. 2 judges gave Madsen all 3 rounds, and one of them did give him the 29-28. So I think they got the decision right.
Yep, I do agree. Moving on to a fight I was looking to for the most. I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Mackenzie Dern going in as the underdog, and then she ended up completely switching it around within the week and a half we recorded it, becoming the betting favorite. Ended up winning by split decision. I mean, it was a great. Honestly, I enjoyed this fight a lot. I think Mackenzie Dern started off really slow in the first round. Definitely took 2 and 3 in my book. It looks like with the judges too, but my favorite part of the fight was she tried to get her in the standing triangle choke. I thought that was pretty impressive, and I was pretty excited about that.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. I personally had Dern winning 1 and 2 and losing 3. So I thought she should have got the unanimous decision 29-28, but I thought she was the more of the aggressor of the first round. Torres was just kind of more getting out of the way, it seemed like. And really the only thing it seemed like she did all fight was just try to kick at Dern's leg. I mean, I thought for her to be a striking specialist, I thought Dern looked pretty freaking crisp on the feet with her for Dern being a jiu-jitsu specialist. So, I mean, she outstruck her, I thought. And then, like you said, the second round, Dern just controlled her on the ground. So, I mean, I had her winning the first 2. I thought Torres probably edged out the third just because she had a couple of big moments, even though whenever they went back on the replay, the kick on the ground was to the chest.
Yeah,
but
it was to the chest, yeah.
Live, it looked like it was in the head. And got to remember the judges don't get to see the replays like that. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the only reason I think the first round I was kind of iffy on that is just because of the leg kicks that Torres was throwing. It looks like Mackenzie Dern's leg was like really messed up during that first round, and made me a little bit nervous going on. But she came out, she looked strong, and honestly, I just thought she got better and better as the fight went on.
Yeah, it was definitely a good fight. It was exciting, and yeah, I think Dern looked good. I'm not sure where she goes after this. I mean, that she was already top 5. I know she called out pretty much said she wanted to fight anyone else in the top 5. So, I mean, maybe she gets. Maybe here one more win and then she's in the title picture. So
yeah, I don't disagree with that. Going on to the next fight, which I thought was absolutely fight of the night, Khamzat Chimaev and Gilbert Burns. I know me and Corey kind of split on this. He thought Burns took the win, and I'm taking Chimaev. It was an absolute war. Honestly, I went in and I talked about it. I thought Burns was I had mad respect for Burns going into it. He's a warrior. He kept up with Usman, and I think Usman, I wasn't high on Usman at first. I watched him fight Burns, and I had a lot of respect for Usman after that fight. And Burns is an absolute warrior. I just think Khamzat, he had the advantage going in. He was undefeated. He had the momentum. He had the charisma. I think that honestly played in favor of the judges.
Yeah, Khamzat definitely didn't really have much to lose going in. I mean, he's stepping up, went from fighting an unranked. I think his last one was ranked 14th. So, I mean, he was from going to 14-2. He really has nothing to lose in the rankings. But, yeah, I had mad respect for Burns as well. I mean, he was the number 2 welterweight in the world, and he took the fight. You're not going to see many number 2 guys agree to fight number 11 fighter, and especially when nobody else wanted that fight. I mean, Khamzat called out pretty much everyone. The only person who would even respond to him was Gilbert Burns. But, I mean, that's just how Burns is. Burns is game to throw down any time, anywhere, any place, anybody.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, like Derek said, we were kind of split on this one. I definitely had Chimaev taking the first round, and then I had Burns taking the last 2. Burns knocked Chimaev down in the second round. I thought he clearly took that one. I think most people would agree with that. In the third round, I know is pretty split. I mean, that's the round everyone's debating. I mean, either way, it wasn't a robbery, but I personally had Burns. I thought he had bigger moments in the third round, especially towards the end. I mean, you can start off a round looking good, but if you're getting beat the shit out of at the end, I think it's kind of tough to say that you won that round, especially whenever going into the last minute and a half, the striking difference was Burns that was at 22, Chimaev was at 30, and then Burns just absolutely put it on him for that last minute and a half with some big fight-ending potential shots and stuff to take down right there at the end. So, I mean, I thought Burns edged it out. Kind of tough, especially with him, like I said, being willing to take on Khamzat when nobody else was. And I felt like he kind of got the short end of the stick there, but I could have seen it going either way. But it was Man, that was a fun fight, man. We
Yeah,
were sitting
no,
here going crazy.
Definitely had fun with that fight, and
God.
Dana actually gave Gilbert Burns win money.
As he
Even though he
should,
did
I
look,
mean.
yeah, no, I agree, definitely as he should. And I mean, Dana went on saying that was one of the best fights he's ever witnessed. So I mean, honestly, it was an absolute war. I'm actually pretty excited to go back and rewatch it too. Like, it's got that rewatch factor, and I'm really excited to go back and rewatch honestly, I'm gonna go back and rewatch a couple fights on this card. I had really fun with this card. Going on to the next fight. Well, let's talk about Chimaev real quick. What do you think? Where do you think he's going after this? You think he gets Covington, or you think he jumps the line?
I think he's going to end up fighting Covington, and the reason why is because I think Covington is on Dana's shit list after the whole pressing charges on Masvidal. Do I think he should have to fight Covington? No. I think he just proved that he can hang with the number 2 in the world. Covington's already had his shot with Usman. Burns had a shot with Usman, almost put his lights out. So I mean, I think Chimaev should be the next after Leon Edwards. I do think Leon Edwards needs to get this next shot on a 9-fight win streak, and he just gets disrespected all the time, gets passed up. But I think he's got to get this next one, and then honestly, whoever comes out of that one, I think Chimaev should get. And honestly, I don't know that Colby Covington takes the fight. I mean, we were talking about that last night.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly don't think he takes it.
I think it's a terrible matchup for him. I think Burns, what Burns did and what Chimaev did, I think honestly, I think Burns is better than Covington right now. And Chimaev went toe-to-toe with Burns in an absolute war. I just don't think Covington even wants the smoke like that. Like, I don't know, man. I just don't think it's a good matchup for Covington at all.
Yeah, I mean, definitely no disrespect to Colby Covington because, I mean, the dude's a freaking warrior, too. Got a crazy gas tank. He's a crazy good wrestler. But here's the thing. I don't think he's going to be able to take Chimaev down. I don't see him outboxing Chimaev. I mean, I think Burns is a better boxer than Covington. I mean, Burns proved that he could box with Khamzat, maybe even better than Khamzat. But I mean, I don't know. I think that's a really tough day for Covington if he takes that fight. It's gonna be an interesting to see the way this all plays out. Another reason why I could see Chimaev go ahead or the making that fight is with Usman not being for a little bit still.
Yeah.
I mean, they might go ahead and just try to book that because Khamzat was kind of on a long layoff too. So, I mean, it took him forever to find an opponent. I mean, finally Gilbert Burns stepped up and did it. But I'd say with Dana saying that's who he wants Khamzat to fight next, that's probably where it's going to go with Covington. But do I think he should have to do that? No.
I agree with that. Going on to probably the most controversial, I think, on the card. I think this decision right here, I mean, even a little bit more controversial than the last one, in my opinion. Everyone on Twitter split about it. The Aljamain Sterling Piotr Jan fight. And we'll start with the round one. I mean, I've never seen Piotr Jan come out and be as aggressive as he was in the first round. And I said it as we were watching it. He usually takes round 1 and 2 off. And then, amps it up for 3, 4, and 5. With that being said, he definitely lost 2 and 3. I know we kind of talked round 2 maybe a 10-8. I don't know if Aljamain just did enough to get a 10-8. And he didn't in the judges' eyes either, but they also gave him round 1, which I definitely thought Piotr Jan won. 4 and 5 definitely going to Jan in my opinion. But in my opinion, I thought Jan won this with 1, 4, and 5, or at least a draw with 2 being a 10-8. What are you thinking?
Man, I don't know. That first round was tough. I thought I'd definitely have to go back and watch this first round. I mean, this is the round that I think is the most controversial of them all. So I don't want to sit here and just say that. From what I remember, I thought Jan started off pretty slow. The first 2.5 minutes of the round, Sterling kind of beat up the legs, maybe outboxed him just a tad. I remember one big moment that Sterling had. He hit a pretty big elbow on Jan the first. I just didn't think Jan did. I could have really seen it going either way, but I mean, I can definitely see where somebody would give Sterling that round, but I don't know. I mean, me and Derek both on the same page. We like the guys who are more of the aggressors, people who aren't running the whole time. And I mean, if you are running, then you have to have that big moment to win. I just don't know that Sterling had that big moment. Sure, he might have outboxed. I mean, that's going to happen whenever whenever you're going backwards and someone's coming right to you the whole time. I mean, you can step into one and get a few jabs off, a few leg kicks. So tough because Jan was pushing the pressure that round. But yeah, I agree with you. I think everyone knows Sterling 1, 2, and 3. I had it 10-8 round 2. I thought Jan was defending fight-ending moves the whole time. And at the end, Sterling just kind of gave up on the submission and just started wailing on him. And then 3, I didn't quite think it was enough to be a 10-8. It was close in control time, but I didn't think Sterling did enough damage, as much damage as the round before. And then, yeah, Jan just turned it on, I think, a little too late. And the thing that made me the most frustrated about it was he was winning on the feet. He was honestly beating the hell out of Sterling, and then he was going down to the ground with him. I'm just like, why, man? Stand up and knock him out. Jan has that knockout power that I don't think Sterling has personally. I personally thought Jan kind of screwed himself this whole fight. Him trying to get away from takedowns and turning his back to Sterling, letting Burns jump on it.
So many times. I agree. I was about to say that. Like
even in the fifth he did it. Yeah, he got out of it.
Yeah,
but
Sterling got too high. But yeah, man, Jan tried to give up his back. I mean, I don't understand because the coaches in Jan's corner were specifically telling him, do not give up your back. That is number one you never want to do, especially against Aljamain. Like, that's his go-to. He wants to take your back. He wants to choke you out. You cannot give Aljamain Sterling your back. And Jan did that multiple times, man. And getting away with it in the later rounds, honestly, that saved him a little bit. But, I mean, man, and I honestly thought Jan defended it really well in round 2. I know Aljamain was wailing on him there towards the end, but man, with someone as Sterling's, his skill set, how good he is when he is on your back, and how many finishes he has when he's on your back, the fact that Jan defended that for 2 straight rounds, it's got to speak volumes for that too, though. It's got to speak volumes for Jan's defense. The fact that he could keep up with Sterling, man, like I said, I didn't personally like the decision myself. Like I said, I just thought Jan won round 1. I think round 1 was that was the swing round. I think 2 and 3 Sterling, 4 and 5 Jan. It's just round 1 honestly could have went either way. Like we were talking about, I like a little bit more aggressive fighting, and I think Jan definitely pushed the pace, and which is definitely unlike him.
Yeah, it was man, the big killer for him was just turning that back and giving it up to Sterling every round. I mean, even like I said, even in the 5th he got it and just kind of fell off of him. But I mean, I don't remember the gentleman's name that he was working with, but he was working with a jiu-jitsu world champion for this fight, and he said that he was in the best shape of his life and had the best jiu-jitsu skill set he's ever had in his life. But man, it didn't really look like it. It didn't really look like it as far as offense goes, but defense, I mean, he looked pretty good. I mean, yeah, like you said, Sterling's probably one of the few guys in that division where you're not going to survive with him down there for that long. So that was honestly pretty impressive by Jan, but I kind of saw it playing out more as a draw, honestly. I don't know that I had it as a draw. I had Jan winning 1, Sterling winning 2, 3, but 2 being a 10-8, and then Jan winning 4-5. So I actually had it a draw.
I don't disagree with that. I mean,
I think that's better. Like, I know we saw Matt Brown said it on Twitter and a couple others to where they could see that being more than than Sterling winning round 1. I think a lot of people would just put the aggressiveness high on their list as to where the judges don't always, which I disagree with, because I mean, there were several times where we've thought the more aggressive guy should have won the round, and then they reward the guy who's just running up and barely touching the dude. So I mean, it was really tough. I mean, both the Burns and Chimaev, Sterling and Jan fights were both razor thin. And I mean, really, if you were betting for either one, you were gonna think that if your guy didn't win, you were gonna say that he won. Like, it's just one of those things. But it's just fighting, man. Sometimes that's how it goes. But I really think that, I mean, I told Derek this earlier this morning. I mean, it's really no one's fault but Jan's that he lost that fight, giving up his back like that. And I mean, in the first round, like I said, in the first 2 minutes, 30 seconds, I thought he started off slow, but he was coming at him the whole time. So, I mean, it's tough. If he can learn to become a faster starter, because like you said last night, you can't give up 1 and 2 and then every single fight have to win 3, 4, 5.
No.
That's just not a recipe for success. I mean, you're gonna have times where you don't succeed in that. But what I'm curious of is, where does this division go next? Do we get Sterling Jan 3, or do we get Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw?
No, I agree. I think we're just a quick clip of Dana saying that he wants to see Sterling Jan 3, but I think we have to go Sterling Dillashaw first. He was calling out Dillashaw last night. Dillashaw was in attendance. He was there, pretty much calling Dillashaw a bitch. So I mean, I think we got to see it.
Which I agree with.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't disagree, and I think Sterling honestly beats Dillashaw, and I think we're gonna get Jan Sterling 3.
I will be rooting.
That's gonna be the moneymaker.
I will definitely be rooting heavily for Sterling in that one. In case for those that don't know, Dillashaw got caught on performance-enhancing drugs and was suspended for a little bit. He did come back. He fought Corey Sandhagen, he's clearly up at the top of this division, but just cannot get over the hump. Lost to Sterling and Jan. Jan was a close fight, really close in my opinion. And I thought, if you're going to give it to Dillashaw, Dana came out and said he thought that Sandhagen won that fight. I mean, he gave Sandhagen Jan for the interim title.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And he looked good. He was beating up on Jan round 1 and 2, and then he didn't look bad. He didn't look awful towards the end of those rounds either. It was a close fight. I don't know that I like Dillashaw going into this one. I don't think he beat Sandhagen. He's coming off an injury. I just don't know how much of an appeal it's going to be. But people love to hate. People love to hate Sterling, and people really love to hate TJ Dillashaw. So it's going to be just one of those. It's going to be one of those, like, who do you want to see lose more? I feel like.
No, I agree with that.
Even though I will say, I think Sterling should have gained a lot of respect from people after last night, because he proved he could hang with Peter Yan, no matter what you think of the first fight. And actually, whenever they brought up the stats, I was kind of surprised that Sterling had outstruck and had control time on Yan in the first fight. So it's like, yeah, and Yan might have won more rounds, but Sterling was doing more he had better stats. So, I don't know. I think Sterling definitely should have gained a lot of respect from people. And, he's not the one who judged the fight, so can't blame him if you don't think it's a good decision.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, then we'll go on to the main event here. Starting off with Volkanovski and the Korean Zombie. In all honesty, Volk looked really good. Honestly, he's looked the best of his career. 24-1, and I think he looked absolutely crisp on the feet. The Korean Zombie, he's pretty good. I don't know necessarily that he deserved the title shot, being the 4th ranked coming into it. I think it was more one of those things. He hadn't had a title shot, and it was over 1,500 days, since his last title fight, one of the longest in between. And in all honesty, like I said, I don't think he did not deserve it, but I think there was definitely more deserving people in that division. And I think Volkanovski just absolutely pieced him up. I can't believe he survived 4 rounds. I'm glad Herb Dean stopped it. Probably one of the best stoppages he's ever had in his career, because, man, Korean Zombie looked absolutely – he was just out on his feet. I don't even know how he was still standing. He was absolutely getting just torn up the entire fight. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. Volkanovski looked just levels ahead of the Korean Zombie. It was honestly there's not many fights where you feel bad for a fighter in there, which I felt like Volkanovski felt bad for beating him up that bad. I don't know what was going on with Korean Zombie. He just looked slow, looked extremely slow. He could not get his counterpunching going, which is the best part of his game, or at least one of them. And Volkanovski does cover ground extremely well. Don't get me wrong there. But, man, he just looks so much better than Korean Zombie. And like we were talking about before, I just don't think that the Korean Zombie really deserved the shot. I get it. He's a fan favorite. But, the best guy he has beat in the past 2 to 3 years is Dan Ige, who is
on a downhill spiral.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, he's lost a couple in a row, I think, but he's just another one. He's lost to every big. Ige's the same way. He's lost to all the big name guys he's fought in that division. He's good, but he's not great. I mean, before that, he lost to Ortega. I mean, and then before that, he did beat. He beat Renato Moicano, who fought a couple weeks against RDA, looked decent, and then he beat a 40-year-old Frankie Edgar, who should definitely hang up the gloves if he hasn't already. So I didn't think that he was really worthy of the shot. Honestly, I wasn't too surprised with that. I was kind of surprised how many people were taking the Korean Zombie, but again, I think a lot of that has to go back to. I think a lot of that goes back to him just being a fan favorite. I personally felt like I don't know if Calvin Kattar was fully healed up, but I felt like he should have got the shot there. And I think that's a totally different fight. You put Kattar in there. I think Kattar's boxing is better than the Korean Zombies. I love Calvin Kattar. So maybe I'm being a little biased there, but man.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And Kattar's a great boxer. Definitely would have been a little bit more interesting, I think. But man, I don't know. Some of Volkanovski, he looked like in the best shape of his career. Like he's honestly looks like he's at his peak right now. And I just don't know if anyone in this division is going to hang with him right this second.
We really need Max to come back.
Max Holloway would be a great fight. And I honestly think that might be the fight to book. If not Kattar, Max Holloway would be a great opponent. Just think Volkanovski, man. I just think he's looking really good. He made fucking someone that's really good in that division look really, really weak, I thought.
Yeah, there's definitely no argument there. Korean Zombie. We're not saying Korean Zombie's not good. Don't get us wrong. Korean Zombie's very, very talented and has shown he's a very, very good fighter. But last night he did not look like he was up there. It was rough to watch, honestly. And going back to what I was saying before, if Holloway is healthy, you definitely cannot give Kattar the shot. That's the only reason why I'm saying Kattar, because Holloway's hurt, which is number 2. He just beat Brian Ortega, which is number 3. Kattar's 4. So and then the Korean Zombie was 5. So on different rankings, some rankings have Kattar and the Zombie switched up, but I don't know. I just didn't think that. I didn't think that the Korean Zombie had really done enough. I know they were both. Both the Korean Zombie and Kattar 1-1 in their last 2, but Kattar looked really good against a really talented Giga Chikadze. He looked dangerous in there. That was an awesome fight too. That's one. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. It was a hell of a fight. Honestly, I'm kind of curious where this division goes because it's like you got. Volkanovski's beat 2, 3, 5 in the rankings. So honestly, someone who I would like to kind of see get the fight maybe next, which is it's a leap. It's a leap, I'll admit. If Holloway's not healthy, Kattar's not healthy. Honestly, I think Arnold Allen gets it. I think
it'll be a good fight.
Arnold Allen is good. He's kind of the same way. He covers a lot of ground. Good on the feet. Crisp boxing. This division is just really interesting, man. Volk kind of said. No one stepped out and really made themselves a number 1 contender besides Holloway.
No.
But with him being hurt, we're not going to see Holloway for a while. So I'm not sure exactly what his timeline is. If he's healthy, he gets the next shot, in my opinion. If he's not healthy, it's got to be either Kattar or Allen, in my opinion.
I wouldn't even mind seeing Allen step up in there. I think that'd be a pretty good fight. I think Volkanovski's, man, I honestly think that would be the best matchup right now. I just think Volkanovski's just, and I don't know if the Zombie was just not in. I don't know. I really don't know what to say about that. I thought Volkanovski just looked really, really impressive.
Yeah, and it was honestly really sad to see how upset the Zombie was about that because he, like many have said, he's the nicest person in the division. Definitely tough to see, but one thing I have heard is if someone doesn't emerge as a clear number one contender in this division, is that Volkanovski might go up to fight the winner of Oliveira and Gaethje if he can get that shot. So You might be looking at another 2 division champion, so that would definitely be interesting to watch if that happens. I honestly would love to see him and Gaethje go at it. Just the way that they don't either of them back down. I mean, Gaethje's style is crazy, and so is Volk's, but be interesting. I don't know. Kind of a tough one to decide there if he does get that shot, because that division is so competitive. But if he does stay down here, I mean, someone's got to emerge as a clear number one contender. And I mean, maybe that means he has to take a little time off and let Arnold Allen, maybe Calvin Kattar go at it. I've heard that fight thrown around. That would be an absolute banger. I mean, that's an easy co-main event somewhere on co-main event, if not a main event on a fight night, that I think Pichel would be into, because both those guys can bang. But we'll go ahead and end it there. And then we're going to come back with the preview of the next fight night coming up.
And we are back with the UFC Fight Night preview. Luque versus Muhammad 2. What are your thoughts on this?
Man, honestly, I feel like this is a pretty weak card. Not too many fights in here I'm super excited about. I mean, there is some up-and-coming talent, but especially in the co-main. But I mean, there's a few other guys who have kind of come out to shine as up-and-coming prospects. But a lot of them are coming off losses, so it's hard to get super, super excited about them. But they're probably guys who will come into it eventually. One specific guy that I'm really excited to watch, he's probably not going to win, but his name's Brandon Jenkins. He's fighting Drakkar Klose, and he is one of the funnest fighters, one of the most fun fighters to watch, in my opinion. He's a badass, man. And then, but honestly, the only fight that I'm looking forward to watching is the main event, which is Vicente Luque versus Belal Muhammad. So what's your opinion on this one, Derek?
Me personally, I know Vicente Luque knocked Muhammad out in the first fight. I think Muhammad's come a long way since then. Honestly, I mean, both fighters probably have. It was back in 2016. But me personally, I'm going with the underdog. I'm going Muhammad on this one. I know you like Luque. I'm just going Muhammad. I'm gonna see how I'm gonna ride it until the wheels fall off and see how it goes.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I think I'm Team Luque still. Coming off 4 big wins. Man, I mean, choked out Michael Chiesa in his last fight, who is an absolute stud on the ground. He's already beat Belal. I'm still with Luque here. I mean, it's the classic. You got your striker versus jiu-jitsu guy. But, I mean, the jiu-jitsu guy knocked Belal Muhammad out in 1 minute. So, I mean, you showed he can box them at least a little bit. But, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a tough one. But it's definitely a huge one in that division. So, I don't know. It's going to be a tough one either way. But I think I'm leaning towards Luque.
Yeah, I don't like I was saying. I think this fight's going to be really close either way. I just like Muhammad just a little bit more, a little bit. I think he's a little bit better striker. Coming off, unanimous decision against Wonderboy. I'm still real high on Wonderboy, even though he's kind of taken a few L's here lately. Also coming off Damian Maia, which is a veteran of the game as well, with unanimous decision. So, like I said, honestly, I just like Muhammad in this one, but I definitely no disrespect to Vince Luque. He's definitely good.
Yeah, Belal Muhammad, the only reason why I'm struggling to really believe in him is because he kind of out-wrestled Wonderboy. And to get that unanimous decision win, he was getting beat up in the first round, kind of. And then he went to that wrestling. He's just not going to be able to do that against Luque. Luque is so good on the ground. He's so good. He's a world-class jiu-jitsu practitioner. And someone who you just cannot mess with down there. He's not bad on the hands either. I mean, he pretty much knocked out Tyron Woodley and then went and got the choke because Tyron Woodley left his neck open. But, man, I don't know. It's a kind of a tough one. And then, if boxing is his best thing, he was getting just picked apart by Leon Edwards in that fight. Yeah. It's I don't know. I kind of have I have trouble going with him, especially because, he's beat a washed Damian Maia. No disrespect to him. He's just kind of getting up there in age, and I don't think he has it like he used to. And then out-wrestled Wonderboy, which is tough to do, but that's happened in both of his last fights. Burns out-wrestled him, and then Muhammad out-wrestled him. But, He's just not going to be able to do that with Luque. And with Luque already knocking him out once, I'm not so sure that can happen again. But I definitely think Luque can for sure submit him on the ground. So I'm going Luque. That's my lock for the card. You got any other ones you want to talk about on this one? Like I said, it's kind of a lot of just unknown guys.
I think this one's going to be more of just sit back, relax, enjoy the fights. I mean, honestly, I'm hoping, like I said, not a lot of names on this card that I'm even really familiar with. But I'm still really excited. I love watching. I love watching fighting. And honestly, I'm hoping some of these guys make a fan out of me. It's really what I'm hoping for on this card next weekend, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, hopefully this is one that we can watch and maybe pick up on some fighters and get to know them. So, like you said, it's just going to be a pretty chill weekend, I think, as far as these UFC fights go. But whenever we come back, we're gonna give a quick recap of the Bellator card, which is coming up on Friday, which I personally think is much better than this UFC card coming up. And I think if you don't know what Bellator is, it's a pretty big MMA promotion, probably right under the UFC. I think it's got some good fights you should check out. So whenever we come back, we'll be recapping that or previewing that. Sorry. All right, we're back with the preview of Bellator 277 coming up this weekend, this Friday, April 15th. The first fight that I would like to start off, or the first fighter that I would like to start off touching on is Tyrell Fortune, who is a really good wrestler. I think he was a national champion, I believe. He's 11-2, coming off his first loss in a while to Linton Vassell, but he's very good. I would look for him to bounce back this week in the prelims. Yeah, like I said, he's very talented in that heavyweight division. Somebody's going to make some noise, especially in the Bellator division, because Bellator has a lot of Bellator's kind of has a lot of the older guys who retired, or not retired, but got, they left UFC due to money issues or just didn't want to deal with the UFC anymore. But yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to the next fight I'm really excited about, which is Tim Johnson and Linton Vassell. Tim Johnson is a former UFC fighter. Still very good. He's still world-class heavyweight. And he's fighting Linton Vassell. Linton Vassell is also very good. He's 22-8. Fought some of the best people outside of the UFC. He's very, very talented. Yeah, that one should be a banger. You're probably going to see someone get knocked out. Both those guys are pretty good knockout artists, so this should be a pretty exciting fight. Then moving up the main card, we have Aaron Pico versus Adley Edwards. Aaron Pico is one of the biggest, hottest prospects in MMA. He's 9-3, but he came in fighting just absolute studs. He did not fight anyone. He has not taken an easy fight. In my opinion, he's fought guys who are really, really talented and really, really good, and he has worked his way up as a prospect. And I mean, he looks really, really good. I don't know too much about Adley Edwards, but he's 9-1. He looks pretty good, so I mean, I'm sure that one's going to be an absolute banger as well. And then going up to the co-main, which this could easily be a main event. You have it's for the light heavyweight championship, so 205. You have Vadim Nemkov and Corey Anderson. Kind of funny there, but yeah, Vadim Nemkov is very, very talented. He's beat some of the best guys in the world, including former UFC fighters like Ryan Bader. I mean, he's just really good. He's actually works out under Fedor Emelianenko, who's probably the biggest name ever to not fight in the UFC. He's beat Phil Davis twice. Julius Anglickas, who's pretty good. Liam McGarry, who's good. So I mean, he's beat everyone. He had a couple losses early in his career, but since then he's been on a 9-fight win streak. I mean, he looks unbeatable at 205. Like I'm not so sure if he went to the UFC, if he wouldn't go in there and just absolutely destroy that division. He's young, he's hungry. I mean, he might tear. There's a lot of divisions in Bellator that they're getting to where they can compete with the UFC, I believe. But this 205 champion, Vadim Nemkov, is definitely one of them. And he's fighting Corey Anderson, as I mentioned, who was a former top 5 UFC fighter who left in free agency to go to Bellator to make more money. And has made a splash over there in Bellator. He just beat Ryan Bader as well. And he's looked really good since he went over there, so that should be an interesting one. I would like to see Corey Anderson win. I like him. I think he's got a good personality, funny guy, from America, but you definitely cannot count out Nemkov. Nemkov is really good outside of the UFC. I'm really excited to see this fight. And then moving on to the main event of the card, this is probably the biggest Bellator fight in history, the first fight. And that's A.J. McKee Jr. versus Patricio Pitbull. In the first fight, A.J. McKee finished him early, but you could kind of tell Pitbull was a little nervous. McKee has a lot of build-up around him. He's 18-0, a lot of hype around him. I mean, people are saying he could be the best featherweight in the world potentially. Even saying he could beat Volkanovski from the UFC. So I mean, it's kind of crazy. This is another one of those divisions where the Bellator stacks up really well, I think, against the UFC. So it's kind of interesting. This fight very well could be for who's the best featherweight in the world. So going to be an interesting one. But yeah, like I said, this is one that this card is crazy. It's crazy. Got some major talent. And if you're free on Friday, if you have Showtime, I would definitely tune in to watch. I mean, you're gonna get to see some of the best guys that aren't in the UFC, who are UFC caliber 100%, but they're just signed to another company. But yeah, I think the two championship fights are gonna be absolute bangers. Like I said, you got A.J. McKee Jr., who is the absolute, maybe the best featherweight not in the UFC, maybe the best featherweight in the world. Super talented, great boxer. You got Patricio Pitbull, who's just great all around. Honestly, kind of reminds me of Volkanovski. Real short, compact guy. Got a lot of hand speed and just super talented. Like I said, Vadim Nemkov, man, he would probably honestly run through the UFC's light heavyweights, in my opinion. I mean, maybe with Yuri Prokovich coming up, I don't know if he runs through like him, but I think he runs through Glover Teixeira, and I mean a lot of the guys in that division. So, yeah, he's young, he's hungry. I'm excited to see him fight Corey Anderson. Hopefully, he represents the name well, but we'll see. I'm not too sure about this one. But that's gonna go ahead and wrap up this episode. So please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. We have a lot of big plans coming up. We've been in talks with even having some potential UFC fighters on soon within the next month or so, if we can get all the proper equipment and get everything set up. So please help share it. Please help share the podcast and get us out there so we can get the views and kind of get out there to everyone else. But thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.